that we have been conducting this year through the LACUE organization, and we are just very excited that at 4:30 in the month of May, we have so many people that have taken time out of their busy schedule to join us. As I am rambling on, my name is Pam Nicholson, and I am a technology trainer in Calcasieu Parish, and it is my privilege to be your host today. And as the host, what it will be my responsibility to do is to guide you through this webinar experience. I'm sure that we have all types of people here with us today. So the first thing that's very important as the host is I need to take care of the housekeeping procedure. And the first thing is for you to please make sure right now what you should be seeing is that the slide says sign in at, and it has the link. If you would please navigate to that link and sign in, this is the way that you will receive your CLUs for participating in this webinar. The easiest way to navigate to that link is on your right side of the screen. You should see a link to sign in, and you may click it and it will take you right there. As we go through the webinar today, if at any point in time you have some questions or anything, or that you need some further clarification, if you will just simply type in the chat box, and just as Desiree has done to help assist me, you will just type your questions there, and then at certain times during the presentation, I will let everyone know that I will address those questions to the audience, and at that time we can get those questions answered for you. And guys, I encourage you to use that feature, because that's how we will make the webinar engaging and interactive as we go through. It is my privilege today to let you know a couple of things. Our webinar today is being brought to you by LACUE. LACUE is the Louisiana Association of Computer Using Educators. I hope that those of you who are in attendance today are familiar with LACUE, but if not, a couple of things. There is a link to our website where you can go and find additional information. The purpose and the mission of LACUE is just to encourage classroom teachers in ways, and support teachers in ways that they can use technology with their kids to improve student achievement. You will see that the date of our 33rd annual conference is November 28th through the 30th. And I know I'm biased because I'm part of the LACUE organization, but I've been part of LACUE now as a board member, just as a participant, and as a classroom teacher. And no matter what role I'm in at the time that I occupy, that is one of the best conferences where I go to. The target audience for the sessions is us. It's those of us who are trying to find ways that technology can be used to engage our students so that achievement occurs with them. So I encourage you to look into that and begin to make your plans to attend. Today, our webinar, I'm so excited because you are going to get to listen to 3 dynamic presenters and teachers and educators. All 3 of these, I can attest to you, are phenomenal teachers. What they're about to share with you, I can also tell you is tried and true, and they have data with test scores, student engagement, all to back up what they're going to share with you. They are, like I said, they are phenomenal. It's a very diverse group. We have some middle school educators with us today and high school, so I think you're in for a real treat, because the topic of what they're going to be talking about is how to use that technology to differentiate instruction. Because we know whether we have a classroom full of 30 or 10, no 2 students learn the same exact way, and we have so many technology tools that are available to us that will allow us to differentiate instruction and meet those students where they are. And so without further ado, at this time, we're gonna see if we can turn it over to Terri and let Terri begin sharing her information with us. Terri, are you able to click on your mic? Okay, we're going to let, Terri was having a little bit of technical difficulty, so we're going to let Sherry go ahead and get started for us. Sherry is joining us as she goes ahead and starts sharing her information. Sherry comes to us from a middle school here in Calcasieu Parish in Lake Charles. She is from Oak Park Middle School, where she is a middle school science teacher, and I'm going to let her share her information and anything else that's pertinent to her session today.
Hi, I'm Sherry Dattola, and as Pam said, I am a magnet school teacher at Oak Park Middle School. And today I just wanted to show you, Pam, can you see the screen? Is it changing?
No, I don't see your screen.
Okay, share my screen.
There we go.
All right, how about now?
Perfect.
All right. I do teach the magnet program, and we have a 1-to-1 ratio, which is nice for our students in technology. Since we have iPads in my classroom, I like this little recap app that we have. It's a nice little like exit ticket, or for me just to check how the students are doing, but they also get to be creative with it. And it's a really easy program to use, and I've actually done it right in the middle of class and set it up for them to do. But as you can see, here's my screen, and there are steps that you can go through that shows you. It's really simple. All you have to do is log in, as it shows right here. Click on the teacher app, create yourself a username and password, and then that's really all you have to do, and it takes you straight to here. If you wanted to add a class, as you can see, I've already done it, but you would just hit add a class. And then you would go through and just fill out what you wanted the class name to be and what class you have. Then you would select the grade. And after that, they would give you, did you want them to email it or a class pin? I go with a class pin because then it gives me a pin to give to the kids. And that way it protects, in Louisiana, our student identity. That way none of them are using their names or anything like that. And I just wanted to show you one right quick. I'll go to 6th grade. So that way you can kind of see how I set it up. And hopefully it works. And when you go through, it does right here, if you wanted to get the class pin for the class, I just pull this up when I want them to have the pin, and they just follow these instructions right here and type in this pin right there for me. I do have 36 students enrolled, and I just really easily gave them, it was student 1, student 2, student 3, and they have to go in that way and do that. And right here, I'm going to show you how to add a recap. We do have this at the end, so that way you don't have to take notes. This is already there for you. So if you wanted to add a recap, let me click back so that way you can see. You would just hit the button, add a recap. It really is that easy. Right here where it says recap May 4th, I like to put a title. So let's see if it's matter. You would just type that in. You can add question 1 if you wanted. You could type it in, like what is matter, and put a question. Or if you wanted, you could go ahead and click the record button, and you would record yourself actually doing that. And I'm not going to go all the way through it because it's probably going to mess up if I do that. But it then allows you to record yourself so the kids can kind of see what that looks like also. And let's see if it'll let me out. And after you have done that, and I'm going to go back through, you just, after you type your question, sorry about that, I hit the video. Then right here, you just click the next button. And you get a few choices. Do you want to assign it to the whole 6th grade class or to certain students? Always do it to the whole class. Then you have the option, do you want it 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 60 minutes, and 2 minutes? I usually go with 60 seconds to 2 minutes, but it's really on the question that you want. And they will have no more time than that to answer. Then right here, you would click when it's due. I usually give them, like, because I have students that are absent, I make it till the end of the week, even though the assignment's due by the end of the hour. And you get a choice if you want them to rate it off or on, and then all you do is have to hit send. And those are really, you can actually do that right in the middle of class as you're teaching, or you can do it ahead of time, and then the students have that for them. And I'll click back over here, and this shows you how easy it is for the students to sign in. And that's really all it is to it. It's a really good program, I think, for the students, and they really do enjoy it. And if you ever want to take a tour, it kind of explains it to you right here. Another one that I do because I teach science and it's also good for math is EdPuzzle. With EdPuzzle in Calcasieu Parish now, you have to actually create your own video first. And then you can upload it on here. Before, you used to be able to look at, say, YouTube videos. And as you can see, I have a bunch of YouTube videos assigned to my students. And at the beginning of the year, we did that. It told us the progress of the students. It let me know if they completed it. And it was really easy. As you can see right here, I could give them a grade. And so I'll show you really easily the steps that you go through to create an account. You would just go to Explore Learning. You would click Log In. On your home page, you would click on the icon. And I always, of course, go for the class code right there for the students. And I have middle school, so I let them log in with their username and password, and they created their account. But they understood that they had to use the nickname that I assigned them at the beginning of the year. And if they didn't, then I just removed them from the account and have them start over again. After that, then I had to manually click on my class. And this is the steps, step-by-step, how they enroll. Really easy for them. But I'll show you. And then we go through, how, you know, oops, I think, yeah, that was, I'm sorry, EdPuzzle was the one I'm on. I'm sorry, I didn't open that browser. But it does go through and show you how to add your own video, especially in Calcasieu Parish now. Since we can't look at the YouTube video, it shows you how you can go through and do that. And if you just click on right here, you can have a due date, and you can change the due dates of when that's due. If you click on My Classes, if it lets us click, I'm sorry, My Content, you can actually look at what you have loaded onto yours. And like right here, I recorded the steps on how to create an EdPuzzle for my students. And then right here is where you can actually search them. And anything that you wanted to look, you could just type matter and hit enter. And then all the different ones. What I like about it is it's not just a video that they're watching. As they're going through, there's questions. They have to actually stop.
You already know about weight, right? That's just how heavy something is. Like if you've ever been to a doctor's office.
And that way they have to stop and they have to actually answer questions about it. You can actually add questions if you wanted to a video. Or if you didn't, let's say you wanted to use this, you would click, this is the one I want to use, so I'd click Use. And if I wanted to use these questions after I viewed it, that would be great. But if I didn't, say I wanted to talk to the students, I can add an audio by just clicking right here.
The whole universe is made.
If I wanted to add audio notes, again, I can add notes here. The one that I use the most is quizzes. I can come right here once I've done my own video, and click quizzes right here, and then I can add my own quiz just by clicking on that button. And then right here I have choices. Do I just want a constructor response question? Do I want a multiple choice question? And I would type it in right here. If this is not what I want it to be the answer, it's really easy. I change it. And right here I click on the arrow. And that would be the correct response that I typed here. And then, of course, I have this one also, which is like, this free response for the students. And once you're done, all you have to do is hit save. And then you would hit finish. And then you would have your own little quiz right there. The students in my class, since we have the last 2 weeks, they're going to create their own videos. And then with me, right, as a facilitator, they are actually going to create their own questions for their classmates. So, it's just a little different spin on it since we can't actually watch the YouTube videos. Also, now this is the one that you do have to pay for, but you do get 30 days free. It's really good. It's a Gizmo. And you can go and search for all kind of like interactive that you can't do in the classroom. So let's say I wanted to do photosynthesis. Sorry, it's been a long day, can't spell. And then we'd have like a photosynthesis lab. If this is the lab that I wanted to do, and I'll click on it so you can see, I could either launch a Gizmo if I just wanted to have it on my active board and the students, participate whole group. If I wanted to assign it to the students, I would just hit add to class, and I would assign it to whichever grade that I wanted to. So let's say I wanted to assign it to 7th grade. Now it's assigned to that grade, and then my other 4th hour 7th grade class, and boom, it's done. What's really neat is they give you a teacher guide, which is the lesson plan. So if you have to do lesson plans, they're already done for you. It gives you a vocabulary sheet for all the vocabulary words that your students should know to do this. It gives you the answer key, which I love because then you already know the answers, and it gives you the exploration. Sometimes their sheets are a little long, so if you want to customize it and you just open the Word document right here, you can change or add to anything that they have on here. That way it's not as long, because my students have only 45 minutes in a class period. And if I only want them to work on it for that day, I might want to take out some questions. And I'll launch the Gizmo just so you can see how neat that one is. And then you can go through, and the students' worksheet actually tells them step by step what they're going to do. So right here it kind of describes it to you. Then here's the table. So if we then start changing it and messing with it, it is going to start charting everything once I hit record data. And it's really neat because these are experiments that we can't do in the classroom just because of money or something like that. And I think it's really neat. The students enjoy it. Let me go ahead and get out so you can see where I actually can get my grades. So if I go to my classes, let's say I pick 8th grade. I had 12 students do the minerals because it's kind of expensive to do this activity. I just click right here to view assessment results. And then right here it tells me what the students made on this one. As you can see, I just used their initials. And then I can give them this grade. And it actually shows me right away what they missed or what they knew, which is good. Of course, they made 100% on it, so you can't see that they missed it. But it would be in red had they missed it. Right here is the class enrollment code if you wanted them to enroll themselves this way. That's how I had them type in their names. That way I didn't have to go in myself. If you wanted to do it yourself, that's fine also. And it's really easy to add a class. You go to My Classes, go to Home Page, and if you wanted to take the tour, as you can see, it does pop up right here, especially for any new information that they have. And let's see, adding, it's not going to let me add anymore because I already have all of my students, the maximum number I can have. But if you do follow along on here on my sheet, it does tell you how you can add one. It does limit the number of students you can have, and that's why right now it won't let me add any more classes, unfortunately. But it shows you how the students can manually enroll. And then right here it shows you how to add classes. On yours, because when you get it, you'll have the room to do it, you would just click on Add to Class. And then you would follow these directions right here, which would give you up to 30 per class that you have, which is, you know, a nice number. I like it because the students are able to do it when I'm not in school. So if I have a sub, I can go and check their progress and still give them a grade. And they're not just sitting there doing bookwork. They're actually doing some interactive work where they're actually getting some learning done. And that's really it for today. So I'm going to click back over here and see if I can get it to stop sharing. It's not letting me click the stop sharing. Hey Pam, how do I stop sharing?
Okay, I just sent you a request for control. Did you get the request?
No, ma'am. Do you want me to just get out and get back in?
No, because I'm afraid. Let me see. Okay, Terri says that.
Okay, here it is. Stop. Does that work?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let me mute. Okay, so Terri, go ahead if you want to go ahead and turn your mic on and share your screen. So while Terry's getting...
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Yes, okay.
Right.
So, okay, can you go ahead and I'm going to let you share your screen and then I'm going to just keep talking for just a few minutes. So while Terry's getting set up to share her screen, I just want to thank Sherry for the 3 things that she shared with us and a couple of things to kind of help focus you for a second. Sherry shared with us, that's hard for me to say, a tool called Recap, which is an app for the iPad, and it's also a website. So if your kids had a laptop that had a webcam, they can record in Recap using that. So it's not just, it is a tool that is device agnostic as long as the webcam is on that laptop. She shared with us EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle is a phenomenal way. One of the things I love about EdPuzzle is when you go and you go to add your video, if your video is longer than 10 minutes, that's one of the things they'll do is they'll give you a warning and they'll say, you know, the pedagogy behind video is that, you know, videos that exceed 10 minutes lose touch with students and their attention span. So, you know, that's one of the things that you could look at. And then the last thing she shared with us was Gizmos, which is applicable to grades 3 through our middle school grades and even a little bit into high school. Love Gizmos. So just kind of think about those 3 tools and think about, you know, that's a lot to grab hold of it, and think about which one was new and which one you might look at using with your students. And now I'm going to turn it over to Terri. Terri joins us from Calcasieu also. She is on the other side of the river at a middle school called Maplewood, and I'm going to let her take it away.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. We've had a little fun with my mic. I finally got my Mac, and it's working great. I'm going to share with you a way to differentiate with your classroom, even with some of the tools that Sherry shared, through Blackboard. I don't know how many of you use grouping in Blackboard, but it's very simple, multiple ways to set it up. But the nicest part about grouping is that you can go in anonymously and assign your kids to a particular group, and then within that group, you can give them leveled work. In other words, I teach science, but I've taught ELA and math as well. And one of the things I know is that when I give nonfiction type reading, I have some kids who really struggle with the reading process, not necessarily the content, but just the fact that they have a hard time reading. So what I've done is I go in and I set up groups, and I sometimes mix them, high and low, like Kagan strategies do. And sometimes I put an entire group together that's low so that I can give them a specific piece to read. And I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like as a teacher. Right now I'm in the groups create screen. I think that's what you should see. And it's pretty easy. If you want to create just a single group, say for reading, you could say, I don't know, I think back when I was in elementary they had the bluebirds and the redbirds, and that always gives me a negative connotation. But I usually just do it by hour, and I'll say third hour table 1 or third hour table 2. And in those tables, I put specific kids by name, and then they can access their group information, and it can be similar content but lower levels. And what that looks like is, for example, here's my third hour table 1. If you were to look at the group set, I have 4 people enrolled in it. I enroll them. And I assign students. I'm not going to show you that group because it'll give students' names, but I'm going to show you, once you've done that, you can switch over to any content area. And in that content area, for example, we did corporate Maplewood. I teach science as well. I had my kids develop a better energy bar. And so I grouped them, and then I added content for them to, or assignments and assessments for them to do. In this particular third hour, I have all these different groups. They could add their minutes from the day. And what it gave them was the ability to add information just by grouping. No one else could get to it. No one else could see it. And then they could actually browse the collection and look to see what people had posted, etc. And just that group could look at it. So if I had a lower kid who maybe their writing skills weren't as, as effective as some of the others, I could put them in a group that wouldn't criticize their writing, but would look at what they were trying to say. It really gives the kids a way to differentiate. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like. Well, I'll show you kids' names. But the way you build that assessment is you just go in and add an assignment with the group. You can do the same thing with reading materials. If I want kids to read about, say, something new in science, like I really like News ELA. It is a neat place to find level readers. Here's one on a new invasive species, which is something we look at all the time. So when I click into this particular article, it gives me choices based on different levels. This one happens to be 7th grade level, pretty high word count. I can actually look at another level on it, and I can assign it to my class, or I can bring it down to, say, a 4th grade level for some of my kids. When I take this article and put it inside my Blackboard, no one knows whether they're reading the article on 7th grade level, 5th grade level, 2nd grade level. Same content, different vocabulary, smaller words, less syllabication, and grouping. So for my lower reading students, they still can read about science material, and yet no one else knows they're reading a different article. News ELA, or Newsella, some people call it, has a free version and a premium version. You can't, with the premium version, you can add kids and actually do classes. With the free version, you can just look at their text and use them. But the nice part is that they do level. Another source for you is minibooks.net. It has any of the public domain books located in it. You can go by genre, by title, by author. Genres, again, you have the choice of nonfiction. So if you're wanting your kids to read maybe about African American studies, or if you're a business teacher and you're teaching about business, computers, you can see the list is coming up for you. It's pretty endless, and you can download the free book. I pair this with an iPod and put Natural Reader on it. And so for my kids who don't read very well, the Natural Reader picks up and reads for them. Natural Reader is free. That's kind of a funky voice, but I can actually load that audiobook on an iPod, doesn't take up much space, stick the kid in the corner and let him listen to it be read to him, and then he gets the content same as everyone else. The other, yeah, here's free books. They'll send you books if you want to, but I just like mini books because it can pull up anything. A couple of years ago, I had kids, when I was teaching language, I had them go through and translate Shakespeare because the wording was so funny in true Shakespearean iambic pentameter. My kids loved it. They could highlight, they could move, they could listen to the books and go from there. So I think that's a great way to pull it. One of the things that I've been told by my friend Kelly, who does ClassFlow, is that ClassFlow also adds groups, and I'm playing with that now. I haven't experimented with it, but if I can send a different slide to each child, knowing that their specific needs for reading or science or math, then I can eliminate confusion on their part. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you add an item. If you go down to the bottom, it asks about attaching a file, etc. You can display after. If I want it just to be tied to a group, oops, in the wrong place, hang on a second. So, for example, if I wanted to add something for ecosystems, and I wanted to put something in here with a solution, if I add this problem just total, everybody sees the same file. But if I go through and say, system's slow, sorry. If I want to add an item, and say I'll call it bog. Okay. And what restrictions do I want to do? Do I want to browse my computer? Switch computers 3 times. I apologize, guys. It's going to be fun. Okay, right here. Okay, as grading submission details. Do I want it to be an individual submission, a group submission, a portfolio? I can tell the group I just want one thing from them. What group do I want to submit to me? First, second, third, whatever. They can work on it together. I can give them multiple attempts. I can check it for plagiarism. And then I can grade it anonymously or delegated, okay? So what that gives me is the ability for the kids to work in my, in a group and give me an individual submission for that group work, okay? If I enroll them, and to enroll them, it's real simple. You go back to your tools, go to groups. I happen to have a button set up so I don't have to go looking for it. Okay, there are a couple of them that I like. The group set, the random enroll, say you want to just group people anonymously. This will group them based on your Blackboard roster. It will go through and say, I'll show you. It's really pretty simple. You tell it what the name of it is. So this, if I'm going to do something about my bog, I can tell them, work in your groups, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to see me type. But anyway, is it visible? Is the group visible to students? Yes or no. I don't have to show the other groups. Okay. If I want to do a blog, I can put all these individual tools in, blogs, wikis, etc. I can grade it or not grade it. I usually grade. I can allow them to personalize it. And then when I get down here, this is on the random one, I can say I want 5 students per group. And it will go through and look at my classes, and it will assign. The interesting part is I can do it across, if I have all my classes loaded in here, like all my kids across 6 classes that I teach, it can assign kids across classes, so I can collaborate between first hour and fifth hour, or second hour and first hour. And then I can tell it, distribute them among groups. Actually, if it comes out with an odd number, say I have one kid left over, it'll just stick them in a group. That's the group set. I think that's kind of cool because when you're trying to randomly assign, sometimes you get kids working always with their friends. And I know it's hard as teachers to sit down and say, okay, Sally works with Susie and Timmy works with Tommy and go through, but this does it for you. Okay. The other option you have is to actually let the kids self-enroll. You can tell them, you've set up 6 groups, go pick a group and join. I usually end up doing a manual enroll because I like to pick them based on test scores or content knowledge. I have some boys who are really into science and I have a couple of girls, and so I try not to put them all in one group to avoid allowing, one group to be really smart and all the other groups to have no one. So if I can divide them up, I can assign where I need to. Are y'all having trouble hearing me now? Someone typed in they're having trouble hearing. Please tell me if you are. I've had all kinds of issues.
Terry, just a couple of times when you just went through that last part, it cut out like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, let me see if I can go back over and maybe that will help. I just clicked to see if I was having issues because I finally went to my Mac, guys. I'm so sorry I couldn't get any of the headsets to work. Okay, so let me go back to the screen. All right, so when you're adding groups, if you want to create a group set, you can do it either by manual enrollment, which is what I do when I want to break up kids individually by their skill levels. So you just go to create. You can do one group if you want to. Say you just have one group that you really need to give a lower level reading to. You can keep that one group until when the kids log in, only they have access to that group. No one else can log in and look at their work. No one else can click on the group. It'll tell them you're not a member. If I want to create multiple groups at one time so that I have to type the same thing over and over again, I can go to manual enroll. I can tell it how many groups I'm going to have, and I can go in and click on the kids in my class and assign them to a specific group based on skill levels. The random enrollment is a great way if you're wanting to do a project and you want new kids to work with each other and you don't want to sit down and figure out who works with whom. And so what I do is just click on the random enroll. If you get to the very bottom, it tells you choose how many groups, how many students in the group. You can do it either by number of students per group, or you can say I want 8 groups, and it'll do it that way. And then it automatically assigns them based on your enrollment. The only thing, just a thought to keep track of, is if you have other people enrolled in your class. For example, if you have, say, a paraprofessional and you've added them as a student, not a teacher, it might assign them to a group. Sometimes that's not a bad thing because that para can go in and look at the group work and tell whether the kids are doing what they're supposed to do. And sometimes, it distorts your grouping. I usually try to put my paras in as teachers, co-teachers, so that they're looking at it from a teacher standpoint rather than what the students see. Okay, so I hope that helps. I'm going to close this out and get back to my screen. Did I lose my screen? Pam, are y'all still there?
Yeah, we're still here. I see your Google screen.
Okay, good. I was going to say I lost the screen for a minute. All right, so I'm going to give it back to Pam. I hope that helps you with grouping. My point was just to do differentiation. There are lots of tools out there that you can load in Blackboard. The nicest part about Blackboard is everything is in one place. I don't have to wonder where I put that piece of paper that I need to give to Pam today so she can read, on her level. And the kids really like it because it's private. They can log in at any time, read their own individual piece, and go on. If you teach language arts, Sometimes the readers are level and they give you multiple books. Most of the time you get some kind of technology CD with that. I use those level readers and loaded them in my Blackboard so that the kids didn't have to pull out a different book. I'm very big about letting children be differentiated without being noticeable. And anytime you load it in Blackboard, everybody's on Blackboard. No one gets to see what anybody else looked at, so they feel like they're anonymous. I thank you for your time. And Pam, I'm going to stop sharing, and it's all yours.
Very good. Thank you. And Suresh, if you want to, while we're making the transition, you can go ahead and take control and begin sharing your screen. Guys, one of the resources in the chat, I asked several questions as we were going through. Not sure, we have people joining us from all over the state, and I'm not sure what LMS your district supports, but if you use Moodle or you use Google Classroom or don't use Blackboard, still think about the resources that Terri shared with you. If you're not familiar with Newsela, Newsela is fabulous because I can go in there and I can find an article on current events or social studies, science, anything in that area. I can pick on it and pick, like if I teach 10th grade, I can pick 10th grade and have that at that grade level, but then click another button and it drops it down to like a 4th grade reading level and doesn't change the meaning. So even though I could let them behind the scenes in Blackboard or whatever LMS I have read on that grade level, we could then still come back together and have a conversation because we all still had the same information. So wonderful resource if you haven't looked at it. So now without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Suresh. Suresh is one of our teachers. Almost named the wrong school for you, Suresh. He is one of our lead curriculum teachers at LaGrange High School here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and so I am now going to give him control.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Pam. Hope everyone hears me. One of the key factors of our education today is student engagement. It is important because it helps the students to want to learn, participate in class, work effectively, improve cognitive and social skills, and achieve the best in their classes. Now, we see today, every time you are bombarded with data, every type of data we look at has a connection between a student engagement and a success. And one of the surveys, we all know about Gallup, and according to a Gallup survey recently, student engagement has improved by 55% over the last decade just because there is some type of technology introduced in the classroom. So we understand that introducing a technology makes a difference. Engagement changes everything. And you can see our today's students, they love technology. A few years ago, when I had gone through a brief technology study called Teaching Digital Natives, it was a brief course, about 3 months course, and it just kind of an eye-opener to me to understand what type of kids I was teaching. So I understood all the teaching I'm doing to students today are digital natives. On the other hand, we are all teachers or digital um, immigrants. We are digital immigrants, but our kids are digital natives. So we have to learn some things, some technology tools so that we can teach them better way. Technology is becoming an increasingly important part of the classroom. About 93% of teachers now using some sort of digital tools to guide their instruction. So no doubt we have a wide variety of technology. Simply adding a technology to K-12 environment does not improve learning. What matters is how it is used to develop knowledge and skills. So sometimes we are so excited we have a lot of technology given to our classroom, but if we do not know how to use it or where to use the technology, it's of no use. Technology in today's society is at the very heart of learning, and even studies show that an increased level of student engagement occurs far more often when technology is integrated into a classroom and as a part of lesson. You can see what Bill Gates said. Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. So teacher still plays a major role because the teacher is the one who decides what technology tool makes the difference, what technology tool it engages the students most and make them successful. So what must you do? You should be using technology as a tool that presents students with an opportunity to learn in a more engaging, exciting, and relevant way than more traditional methods. So, survey says, a lot of surveys, data is very important. One of the surveys says using Nearpod helps to engage all students. In other words, it maximizes the student engagement and keep them accountable. So here comes one of the greatest tools of technology that engages every student. Again, I'm Dr. Suresh Chirugugu. I'm an instructional coach, and I welcome you to Nearpod. I'm a big proponent of Nearpod because it just saved my life when I was struggling with my classroom management. When just at that very moment, Calcasieu Parish School Board, they just kind of opened a grant opportunity to win iPads, and I wrote an iTech grant. They graciously offered me iPads, and then I started to look for a great tool to engage students in. And then I figured out Nearpod. I was just kind of browsing through, learning through different steps, and within a few months, technology department, Calcasieu Parish, offered a TNT training. That's when I just learned a little more about Nearpod. Thereafter, it has become my favorite tool. Now, let me ask you as I move on. So, what is Nearpod? You can see there's a kind of meaning over there. You can call that a definition. Nearpod is a collaborative presentation tool that allows teachers to engage and assess their students using mobile devices. Of course, it's not only for mobile devices. It can even be used with PCs, laptops, and all kinds of things today. Now, let me ask you a question. I can see your chat box, and probably I want you to think about it. What are some keywords you see in this slide that every teacher often encounters in their teacher evaluation process? So when it comes to the teacher evaluation process, there are some keywords we have struggled with. So what are those keywords that you see related to a teacher evaluation process? Just kind of pausing for a few seconds for you to think and pick. All right. Going back to that one more time, I would focus your attention on three key terms here. You can see collaborate, engage, and assess. We're all familiar with Danielson's rubric, right, for teachers' evaluation. Collaborate, if you remember Danielson's rubric, collaborate is focused in component 3B, using questioning and discussion techniques. So, when you use Nearpod, you are actually collaborating you're running the collaborative groups of students in your classroom. And then another word, engage. And that engage is focused in component 3C, engaging students in learning, right? And another word, assess, is focused in component 3D, using assessment and instruction. There you go. Out of 5 components, 3 components are already incorporated in a Nearpod. So you can understand that 60% of your total evaluation It can be derived from just using a Nearpod. So based on this information, using Nearpod lesson is an advantage for your classroom. Every time you use Nearpod, these are some things that we need to see. Engaging and assessing, it goes hand in hand. And I always, as a facilitator for I model lessons. I'm an instructional coach. I visit classes and observe classes. And I actually support teaching through giving them the feedback and all. Whenever I see problems with the classroom management, when there's a little bit of technology available, I would encourage teachers and train them to use Nearpod. It's really, really a very great tool. And Nearpod is a type of technology available on the web, as an app, everywhere. And some of you might be familiar with the SAMR model. SAMR model, it gives us a tier system when you actually integrate technology in your classroom teaching. SAMR, 4 letters, SAMR. S stands for substitution, which is the first tier, and A stands for augmentation, is the second tier. M stands for modification, third tier, and R stands for redefinition, which is the highest level. Nearpod, most of the time, it falls in third tier, where a modification occurs. That means that the lesson that you usually teach in a classroom, when you teach through Nearpod, it goes in a modified form that suits and needs needs of diverse students. And it works from upper elementary all the way up to high school. And another great thing about this is it's free. That's something I really like. So in the process of teaching through Nearpod, it takes 4 steps, as you see on the slide. Create and download actually the presentations you create, or sometimes you don't have to create. There are a lot of pre-made lessons. So you can actually browse through that, and you can pull that lesson, download it, and keep it in your library. You can use it anytime you want it. And when you share it, you have a complete control over student device. And also, you can actually interact. You can conduct formative assessment through same platform, Nearpod. You don't have to leave that. And you can monitor and measure. That means the assessment component included in it. You can actually monitor students who are on task or off task. And let me go in depth of every step of Nearpod. Now, going to the first step, create or download interactive multimedia presentations. So whenever you first wanted to start creating or downloading presentation, you go to www.nearpod.com. Very simple. If you know the name, Google it, you get there, nearpod.com. To register or you create an account, it's a free account. Now you can create, so once you go into that, you can see on the side here, My Library, Explore, Join, Create, Report. These are the most common tabs you see on every page of Nearpod as you enter inside, once you created your account. So what you do is, first thing, you can actually create new presentation in the Nearpod or upload a Microsoft PowerPoint or Keynote presentation. Now, like I said, you can actually, first thing you can explore, go into the explore area, whatever the lesson you want to teach, for example, photosynthesis, and there is a search box you can search. You can type photosynthesis, it will pull up all the photosynthesis related presentations. It depends on what level of grade level you're teaching, you can actually pick and use that. So it says download. So whenever you like that presentation, you can actually download that into your library. So that presentation is there in library. Anytime you want it, you can use it. And sometimes you want to create a new presentation. You don't want anything that is already made in that. You can do so. You can create slide by slide, or you can actually directly upload a Microsoft PowerPoint that you already made. Some of you might be using MacBooks and all that, so you may have a presentation in a Keynote. I use MacBook, so my suggestion for you to upload a Keynote presentation is to convert that into a PDF and you can actually upload that PDF formatted keynote presentation into that, so you can use that just like a slideshow. So this is a great tool to create, and most of the time I did not create every time I used it, and there are great lessons that suits really our need. So I have seen that many times. Very few times I created my own lessons. Let me take you to the second step here. Share your interactive lessons and control the student activity in real time. You can share this presentation, classroom, a lesson as a homework, or as just kind of a live presentation. Now, let me tell you here. If you want to give a live presentation, that means you're teaching the class. You can give that live presentation, so you can actually teach that lesson, and you can control every device of your student device in the classroom, and they can run your lesson. But sometimes you may want to assign a lesson as a homework. So there's an option when you move your cursor over that particular lesson in the Nearpod. It actually gives you an option to assign as a student-paced lesson. That's something that you can actually assign that as a homework. You can send it to student email, or you can just send it to through a Google, whatever the way you share with the student, you can do so. And so whenever you share it, either as a live lesson or through or as a homework, there is a unique code created by Nearpod. So students need the code in order to get into that lesson and do your work. And then you'll be able to, once the student use the code, they log into that and start the lesson, and you will be able to control that if it is a live session. But if it's a student-paced session, student will go on with their pace. Now, the third step here is your students interact and submit their responses through. This is the place where we see that interaction going on between teacher and student. Interaction occurs all throughout the lesson. And the student interact by answering polls. You know, some of you are familiar with polls. You can give polls in the middle of the lesson. You can actually give open-ended questions students can answer. And students taking short quizzes as well. Watching a video, they can watch a video. Write reflections. And also you can send a specific website. Sometimes in the middle of the lesson, you thought of sending a particular website for them to kind of go through it and do some research on it. So you can actually, there is an option on the top of the screen. When you click on that, it will give you a place where you can actually type the website. Say it's www.epa.gov or something like that. So you can share that website. It goes into every student device so that students can browse through their website and do some research. And the last part of this is fourth step is monitor and measure. This is where assessment takes place. You can actually monitor students who are on task or off task, because there is a little head symbol on the corner on the bottom corner of the window, where it is a red head, that means students are off task. Green heads to show students are on task. So that is how you can actually control it. And teachers can measure student results of every assessment or task. Every time a particular task is completed by your class, all those the assessment is actually recorded and stored in the form of reports. When you go to the top, you see, for example, here the menu. When you click on this tab report, it will show you what day the task was completed by what class. You can click on that. It will give you the aggregate report or individual report. So it's a great way to keep and collect the data. So these are the 4 steps we have. And actually, I have a plan of taking you to the interactive session. And I just want Ms. Pam's suggestion. Ms. Pam, do you think you have time, or you want me to continue with the grant tips?
Suresh, actually, we're going to have to stop right now because we are at our end of the time. It is 5:31, and actually, we do need to wrap everything up.
Sure.
I'm sorry. But, guys, one of the things I do want to tell you, to stress to you, if you have not tried Nearpod before, please take the time to look at it. It is a phenomenal resource and one that truly will engage your student. We want to do a couple of things as we wrap up today, and we don't want to keep any of you any longer. But one of the things I know Suresh wanted to really share with you some grant opportunities and how he got a lot of the information that he has in his classroom. So a couple of things. If you look to the right of your screen, you will see a link to, it's called Web Links 2. If you click that, that will take you to the presentation and the information that was shared by our presenters today. And you'll definitely want to do that because that's a wealth of resources. And in there, Suresh provides for you numerous grant opportunities that you can use and try to get some equipment for your classroom. The last thing that we need to make sure that you do is that you do please take time to fill out the evaluation. Miss Alexandra has posted the link in the chat box, so it may be easier for you to click on it in the chat box, or you may click on it on the far right to get to the evaluation. Miss Alexandra will be emailing you the resource only if you signed in. With your that you registered for the sign-in, and she corrected me that web link 2 does not take you to the presentation. That's a incorrect information that I shared. The way that you get the resource is she will email you, and she will use the email that you included in the sign-in. So guys, we want to appreciate and thank you for coming this afternoon. We hope that you found some of the information that was shared today to be valuable, and we hope that more than anything is that as you exit today, that you have thought of one of the tools that was presented that you're going to take back with you and implement into your classroom. So if you have any questions, if you want to type them in the chat box, I'm going to stay around for just a couple of minutes. Guys, you have until 5:45 to complete the sign-in and the evaluation, and after 5:45, we're going to say technology to differentiate instruction is history and is in the grade book. Again, guys, thank y'all so much and have a great day. Sherry, Suresh, thank y'all so much. I know Terri had to scoot out because Terri had another obligation to get to. She has a play opening up this weekend. But on behalf of myself and the rest of iTech here in Calcasieu, thank you guys so much. Y'all did a phenomenal job.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, Miss Pam. Thank you, Miss Desiree. Appreciate the opportunity you gave us.